Hi, I'm Dolly Vasta, and welcome back once again to For Art's Sake. Over the past 14 years, I have been very fortunate in interviewing many young artists and performers who are physically challenged, some of them with spinal cord injuries. I have come away from these interviews always very humble and full of admiration for their tenacity in overcoming their obstacles. A few weeks ago, we were given permission to tape at the Kessler Institute of Rehabilitation in West Orange, New Jersey. We talked with some of the staff, and we talked with a couple of young patients who are quadriplegics. I believe that this is a show full of hope, and to emphasize that point, we brought along my favorite funny man, and hopefully yours too, Uncle Floyd Vivino, who very graciously said that he would come in and entertain the patients at their lunch hour, just to bring a little laughter into a very tough day that they have in rehabilitation. In order to get a handle on spinal cord injuries and what they were all about, we spoke to Dr. Edward von der Schmidt, a well-known neurosurgeon from the Princeton area who deals with spinal injuries on a day-to-day basis.
We tend to think that spinal injuries are those in which someone is unable to move their arms or legs. While certainly these are the most tragic types of accidents and injuries that occur to the spinal cord, there are different types of spinal cord injuries that can occur. People can be left with a loss of a function of one leg or both legs and one arm or both arms. They can be left with a loss of leg function and arm function to a degree that does not even allow them to use their arms. These are certainly the most severe kind of spinal injuries that we have. We see them from all sectors of population and all different types of causes. The types of causes I most commonly see them are associated with accidents with motor vehicles. Certainly we see them in addition to this with sports-related injuries, as well as accidents that can occur to small children, even as a fall down the flight of steps. If a person was to come into the hospital and show that they are not moving their extremities or their arms and legs as they should be, we would then look for a correctable cause as to why they're not. X-rays may be taken of the spine. X-rays would be able to show us problems with the bones, whether the bones have a fracture, whether in a poor position, which would be called either a dislocation or a subluxation. If either of these occur in the face of having poor function of the arms and legs, attention may be necessary at that point in time to correct these problems. An individual may require temporary stabilization for surgery to be done later, or they may require stabilization in an immediate fashion for immediate surgery. We would always try to preserve the function, and many times this requires us to intervene with the devices of traction and halos and tongs and other things that would stabilize the spine and keep it in a fashion for which we would then be able to further evaluate additional tests performed and then consideration for surgery to try to fix what is broken and causing pressure on nerves of the spinal cord.
Dr. Craig Alexander is a staff psychologist at Kessler Institute.
Certainly we want to know how is that person feeling right now? How has this catastrophic situation that has happened to them make them feel right now? Because we're dealing with patients that are in immediate crises, as well as the patient's family. So you have the immediate issue, that situation which is occurring right now, and then certainly have the more longer-term issues of adaptation down the road some, and especially when they leave here, then they have a whole set of other issues of facing the real-life obstacles that they have and how they're going to confront and deal with those at that time. So there are a number of issues that that each of our patients deals with.
Because a hospital per se, or even an institute such as this, and it's not really the real world.
Exactly, and that's true, especially here. This is very much an artificial environment that is set to make life as easy as possible for people. Everything is accessible. life is made here so that the patients can get the most out of their therapies. That's why oftentimes in my field, the psychological adjustment, it very frequently is not until sometimes years later when a patient has gone home and they've had to confront the obstacles of their own reality that they come to understand what they're truly up against.
Dealing with injured performing artists at Kessler Institute is Nina Paris, performing arts therapist. If a dancer or a singer comes to you or comes here, and they no longer can dance, or they can no longer sing, how do you work with that? How do you deal with it?
It's not easy. The goal of the program would be to help restore their ability to go back to performing. But certainly, like any patient that we do see here, there is the occasional person who can go back. And then we can look at career choices. If they can't actively perform, there's options in their life, like teaching. That I have worked with some musicians who, there's one gentleman in the back of my mind who may not be able to go back to performing. And that person may need some psychological support. That's a loss, like a tremendous loss to them, as if they lost a spouse or a child. And we do have psychological services that are available here, as well as social service. So we try to address the total person, not just their physical needs or disabilities.
All of our patients, for the most part, have to address this issue. How do you get someone that used to drive trucks for a living and enjoyed that? How do you get that person to accept that they can no longer drive a truck for their living, or for that matter, do anything to make the kind of living that they used to make? I think it's a question of acceptance. How do you get someone to accept the hand that they've been dealt? And clearly there's no one right answer to that. This is a process that can take a long time, and in some cases, some people might never even achieve that form of acceptance or surrender, if you will, to the hand that life has dealt them.
I think some of those people who are in the performing arts who perhaps the art that they perform is more sports related or more athletic may have a harder time than those whose skills are not. For instance, someone who's a dancer and involved in a chorus line and active is an athletic person, and every day in their work they use their athleticism with their art. They may have a more difficult time than someone who does not. We see a lot of patients who are injured, and of those who are injured, those who are involved in sports, I think, have the most difficult time in making a transition from having no obvious problem to having an obvious problem that they know that they have to face and cannot deal with other than facing. For many of these people, they have to turn to other skills and talents that they have. Many times they find within themselves areas of talent in terms of even arts themselves that they were not aware of or certainly did not pursue to that point. Part of the rehabilitation requires not only treatment of the muscles and the joints, but also of the mind and the function of the mind. So incorporated into rehab is not only physical therapy, but occupational therapy and therapy which includes art therapy. This day and age with computers, even people who are severely injured with limited use of their hands are able to free their mind up to be able to recover and even involve themselves in areas that they seemingly did not want to involve themselves in before. Some of the computers now are even voice activated, such that even if they had poor function of their arms and legs, they would still be able to activate a computer, turn it on, surf the internet or paint and write as they would see fit. And certainly I think this has helped in people's rehabilitation, and especially in people who are athletically involved or used to using their arms and legs on a daily basis.
Mike Monaco and Craig Lopez, who I interviewed, had been active in sports before their accidents and had now turned their talents through rehabilitation to the field of art.
My injury was in 1979, and I was an inpatient for about a year. I was released in December of 1980.
Have you always been an artist?
No, I wasn't. I was more into sports before my injury. I was 16 when I got injured in a car accident, and I was very sports-minded. I was very active in sports, so I was never really interested in any type of artwork at that time.
I was always into sports, soccer. I played soccer since I was 4, and I played all through high school. So yeah, it was pretty much sports, I think.
Was it Kessler that got you interested in the arts, or the therapy that you took?
No, I was always interested in art, but not really like the graphics part of it. Just you know, drawing like as a hobby. But actually, I started by doing the karate T-shirts for they have a wheelchair karate group here, and I was part of that when I was here. So and then like the instructor knew that that I was into art and did things like that, and he wanted me to design the like a logo for the karate, you know, for the karate group and karate clubs. So, and that's how I got started, you know, working with my computer and you know, the graphics, you know, part of art.
I guess you really don't have a choice in the matter. When you're paralyzed from the neck down, the only thing you can use is your brain and your mouth. So I diverted my whole life and my interest into reading and my interest in politics and also in artwork. I call it mouth stick art. I paint with a paintbrush in my mouth. And as you can see, these pieces here are quite large. And what I do is I have an easel at home, and I like working on large canvases. And some of the canvases that are so large, I have to flip the canvas upside down and do the painting upside down.
Wasn't it terribly difficult to learn?
At first, it was. I wasn't really, you know, when I made my first painting, it didn't really look like too much. I was doing it just for the rehabilitation aspect. I started painting by learning how to sign with a pen in my mouth. I had to sign checks and other legal documents. So I started to sign with a pen in my mouth, and I figured if I can sign my name, well, maybe I can sign with, or I can paint with a paintbrush in my mouth. So I started, and that was about 10 or 12 years ago. And it was a little rough at first, but I enjoyed it more and more, and it became a lot easier. I can look at the world and see God's creation in the world, and it just fascinates me how creation over a period of thousands of years, where the earth has evolved from then, and just looking out, you can look at a different scene, and you can literally paint for hours and hours on one scene, and can change all the time. All the time. When you look at a scenery, you can look at it many different times and come up with different paintings. I believe that God has given everybody some type of talent, and it's really a sin if you don't use those talents. And I never really knew what kind of talent I had until I was injured. And I found out that I had a little bit of artistic ability in me.
I sketch, you know, every once in a while. I have to be in the mood to do it, but yeah, I enjoy sketching also.
What inspires you to sketch? I mean, what will set you off?
What will set me off? I don't really know if there's anything like particular that would set me off, but I just really have to be in the mood to just, you know, it's relaxing, and I just like, yeah, just create whatever.
Do you spend a lot of time each day at it?
Well, my schedule kind of varies only because with my disability, physically sometimes I'm not able to have the physical ability to go ahead and paint. Sometimes my neck would be so sore that I can't stick a paintbrush in my mouth and start stretching my neck to get to the top of the canvas. So it really depends on how I feel mentally and physically that day. Most of the time, though, you know, I can paint for hours on end, but I find the best part of the day is, you know, in the afternoon, the early afternoon, when I'm awake, I can go ahead and paint. And I literally can paint for sometimes 5, 6, 7 hours at a clip.
I found the 2 interviews that I did with Craig and Mike very difficult, probably the toughest ones I have ever done. Part of me, as a mother, wanted to reach out and just put my arms around them. And the other part of me, which is the professional interviewer, knew that I had questions to ask. And in the back of my mind, I wondered, how do the doctors feel? Do they get caught up in the same emotion that I was caught up in?
I would say it's hard not to become emotionally involved to some degree with patients whose life has suddenly changed, and many times for no obvious reason at all. We've had patients who've jumped into swimming pools. They may or may not have had either a beer or some alcohol that caused them to be intoxicated, to have poor judgment, but in the blink of an eye and jumping into the water and not being able to judge depth, their life is suddenly changed. I remember a patient when I was still in Washington that was transferred all the way from the middle of Africa through Rome, and he had come from Colorado, and he was working for an oil company, and swimming in one of the lakes over there. There was a surface that was obviously rocky, and he was jumping off a type of platform in the middle of a body of water. And in jumping off, he misjudged the depth, and he instantly became paralyzed. He was transported in the fashion that they could, all the way from Africa through Italy to the Washington, D.C. for final treatment and stabilization. To see someone who was young and healthy and had all of the potential in the world change makes one realize how quickly life can change and how precious it is. All of these people are attached to family, whether it be a spouse, husband, a wife, children, or parents. And I think that when one becomes a parent and realizes that you could raise someone for 20 years of their life and all of a sudden have something change to the point that even the best of care and the best of schools and the best of training has now left them with a situation which will change them for the rest of their life, it's hard for anyone who has any sense of compassion not to feel for these people and to empathize for some of the changes and difficulties that they will have. Obviously, some of these people, although changed, recognize that their life will go on and they will do everything they can to carry it. And we don't want to use a word that their life has changed in a fashion which is necessarily bad. It's just different, and it has great effects upon them.
I think every therapist here, every doctor and every therapist here becomes emotionally involved to some extent. The issue is not so much if they become emotionally involved, so much as how they act upon that. There is no day that I leave here after a full day and don't have some patient or something that happened that day touch my own personal life. And I'm sure that that's the case for every therapist and every doctor here. When you see the kinds of catastrophic injuries and the kinds of people that we treat and the way people struggle and work hard and succeed every day, that has to touch you emotionally.
When working with patients who've had spinal cord injuries, one of the first things I try to do is introduce back to them or reintroduce to them their own sense of laughter and joy. It's difficult to try to convince somebody whose life has changed suddenly in a rapid fashion, perhaps permanently or for a long period of time, that there still can be some sense of joy or laughter. But I find that the sooner that we're able to do so, the sooner they're able to carry on their recovery and to maximize it to the greatest extent. It's an incredibly important factor in their recovery, in my opinion.
Hooray and hallelujah, you had it coming to ya. Goody, goody for me, goody, goody for him. I hope you're satisfied, you rascal, you. Hello, chef. Oh, you lie awake just singing the blues all night. You think that love's a barrel of dynamite. Hooray and hallelujah, you had it coming to ya. Goody, goody for him, goody, goody for me. I hope you're satisfied, you rascal, you. That's enough of that. That's close enough. Sir, you're missing my act. Aren't you lucky? No, I'm from Patterson, yes. I'm writing a book about Patterson. It's the only city in the country where all the East Streets run north and south. The Wonder Coffee Shop? Don't leave, sir. I'll stop.
I have to go and meet my wife, otherwise I get in trouble. Waiting for me out here.
He's got to go. He said he's got to go meet his wife, otherwise he's going to get in trouble. The other day I played at a similar luncheon, and there was a couple celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, and I asked, I said, I'll play whatever you'd like to hear, and she asked me to play this. I had someone else before I had you, and I'll have someone after you've gone. A streetcar, a sweetheart, don't worry me, there'll soon be another one along. You had your day.
What do you see for yourself in the next few years?
Well, just concentrate on my artwork and the other business aspects in my life, and just having a good time doing it. Just take one day at a time.
Definitely success. Definitely just with what I'm doing, like my business wise, and just, you know, school wise. I'm in college now, and yeah, I think I still have a lot going for me, and I'm positive. You know, I try to keep a positive attitude, and it would be definitely a success. That's what I'm striving for.
Do you find that that positive attitude that you have extends over to your friends and to your family?
Oh, sure, definitely, and I have everybody's support, and that it all works together, you know, giving me the positive attitude.
Support is probably the most important resource that a patient and an entire family can have to get them through the initial crisis and the continued hardships thereafter. The problem is that many times I find that there's a large number of people who are immediately available to be around and offer encouragement for the patient and the immediate family members of the injured patient. I find only too often that as time goes on, the ranks of those who are supporters tends to thin out and make it even more difficult for the families of those who are injured.
But I think it's important to understand that when something catastrophic happens to the individual patient, it really is affecting the entire family system, and people oftentimes don't fully accept that or understand that.
You're founder of an organization, and I know I wrote it down, but I want you to tell me anyway.
It's a nonprofit organization, the International Foundation for Performing Arts Medicine, and we raise money for medical research, prevention, and treatment of performance injuries. So that if somebody suffers an injury, they break an ankle dancing on stage and needs therapy, couldn't afford health insurance, the foundation could help them get therapy here at Kessler.
I asked each one of my guests if they had one wish for the future, what would it be?
I would wish that they would find a cure for spinal cord injuries. It might put me out of business, but that's what I would want to see.
That they could go back to doing exactly whatever performance discipline they're from with a solid background in preventing another injury?
Definitely success.
I believe in miracles. As a person who's been trained in some of the objective tests and findings in medicine, many times we see things that happen that we have no seemingly immediate explanation for. I remember seeing a person who was injured in Washington, and for all practical purposes, we were not able to elicit real response or function. And within the course of hours, we started to see function return that was not there. The person's temperature was normal. Sometimes people who are very cold or injured from being in the outside weather can have poor ability to respond to function. But that was not the case with this person. This was a person who was involved in a motor vehicle accident. And to this day, I often think back of her case and realize that her recovery and the manner in which she did so seemed to defy any explanation that I had at that time or any time since.
I've really learned what life is all about, why we're here and what we're here to do and what we're going to be doing as human beings in the future is just to go and touch other people's lives and to show everybody that just because you have some injury doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Literally, whatever type of injury or whatever problems that you're going through, life doesn't have to be that bad. It's a great life, to go ahead and live it.
Our time has just about run out, but I couldn't possibly sign off without some thank yous. And so, Uncle Floyd, I love you. Kathy Lewis and Michelle, thank you for clearing all the obstacles at Kessler. Dr. Alexander and Nina Paris, good luck to you, and thank you. Mike and Craig, take care, and God bless. And last but not least, my thanks to Dr. Edward Vonderschmidt for coming to talk with us after a 10-hour stint in the operating room. My thanks for everything. Take care. God bless. See ya.
You think that love's a barrel of dynamite? Hooray and hallelujah, you had it coming to ya. Goody goody for him, goody goody for me. I hope you're satisfied, you rascal, you.